Community Connection on KGNB, brought to you by Waters International Realty.
This is Paige Green with your Community Connection. We're here with Keva Boardman and Jennifer Singleterry from the Sophienburg. How are you both?
Good.
That is great to hear. So I know you are celebrating your 90th anniversary at the Sophienburg. Before we get into that, can you tell me, what is the Sophienburg?
The Sophienburg is the museum and archives for New Braunfels and the surrounding area. We're the history keepers, the storytellers for this area.
And when is your upcoming 90th anniversary celebration?
Coming up on October 8th, it's a Sunday from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. We are going to be celebrating the 90th anniversary of opening on this historic hill in downtown New Braunfels.
So for 90 years you've been open, what is some of the history of the Sophienburg?
Well, it has a rich history. So on this hill, we have been in the three buildings that exist here on the hill. The original you'll come up to was the original location, opened in 1933. And one of the remarkable things about it is that in that time, if you look historically, the year was 1933, and the country itself was at a 25% unemployment of labor force. So it was an extraordinarily difficult time in our nation. And despite what was going on in that time, 14 community groups got together and set aside that which was sacred or special to this area, how it was founded, why we're here. And it just marks such a testament to those founders, not only to this area, but also who actually started the museum. And, it's like when you walk into a national park and you think how wonderful it is that this is available to us all these years later, and that someone had the foresight to do that. It feels very much that way about the museum. We're in a really lovely area. It was the original site of the Sophienburg, which means Sophie's Fort. Prince Karl, when he brought settlers here originally, those early German families, he set aside this area and built a fort here on the grounds, to which he had hoped to bring his love, Sophie, back to. And that did not happen, but he did name it Sophie's Fort so that her name would live here always. The museum itself, I'm gonna have Keva tell you this part of how it came to be.
It was in 1925. Mrs. Dittlinger, whose home is literally across the street from where the Sophienburg now is, went to Braunfels, Germany, and they gave her a photograph of Prince Karl, and she was to put it into the place in the museum in the city of New Braunfels, and we did not have a museum. So she was tasked by Mayor Blumberg to start a movement for the making of a museum. And she gathered fellow citizens into the parlor of her beautiful 3-story house and fed them and wined and dined them, and began the talks for the creation of the Sophienburg Museum Association. And from that, they got the rest of the community on board. Different groups decided to help them, and they both planned and executed the whole building. They had to get the property, which of course was someone else's at that time, and built this museum here. It was definitely a community effort. In fact, even the stones on the museum building were collected by children and by people from different places in Comal County. And so there's a huge geological collection even on the outside of the building.
The rich history of the Sophienburg since 1933, and you are celebrating that rich history on October 8th. What will that celebration be like?
We have the great hope that it will be a wonderful day to visit as a community on these original grounds. So that day we have a big brass band. The New Braunfels Big Brass Band will be playing, the Gemischte Chor, the Kinderchor, which are adult and children's singing groups. We have the New Braunfels Folk Dancers and Kindertanzer, which is the adult German folk dancing, and the children's group, which is Precious. And then we also have our Ballet Folklorico, which will dance that day. And if you haven't seen them, they are absolutely stunning. There will be a giant birthday cake, courtesy of Two Tarts. We are so grateful to them. There will be a food truck. There will be a bartender. All of the museum itself will be open. So it's a free day here at the museum, a wonderful time to bring family, friends. If you haven't been through this gem, it's a good time to tour it. As Keva mentioned a moment ago, one of the exhibits we have is a recreation of that parlor where Miss Dittlinger hosted that initial event to start this. And there's some artifacts in there that are wonderful. There's also an exhibit called Fotos de Ayer, which is the Seidel Studio collection. That will be open. There's a great chance to name people in those photos that are still a mystery, because a lot of those photos just have one name designated to them instead of the entire family. It's a really great chance to see if maybe there's some of your family in those photos. Again, the event's from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. It'll be a lovely Sunday afternoon to spend on the Hill.
Lots of activities and a free day at the Sophienburg Museum. That was October 8th from 1 to 4 p.m. And how important is this anniversary celebration to the Sophienburg?
It is so important to us. And I think one of the reasons is, there are a lot of people. We have had exponential growth in this community, and so many of those people don't even know that we're here. There's probably a really great reason you love this town, and walking through the museum tells a little bit about how we got here and what makes it so special.
Now, if people feel inclined to help the Sophienburg, how can they do that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So there are several ways. We have a general and family membership level. There's also a Verine membership level, which is our funding membership. That one includes 3 socials throughout the year where we have dinner and drinks and visit a unique place to New Braunfels and learn a little bit of history surrounding that location. And then our big ask always is that you be a funder for the museum. We are a nonprofit, and it is arts and culture, and as such, funding dollars are what keep the lights on and the doors open and keep us telling these stories and sharing it with the community.
Keva and Jennifer, do you have anything you would like to add about the Sophienburg or your upcoming 90th anniversary celebration?
Yeah, I'd also like to say that, we're in partnership with KGNB to do the Reflections, which is an oral history program. We've got almost 2,000 oral histories already recorded, and we continue to do that, telling the stories of New Braunfels in first person many of the times. And we encourage all ethnicities to want to share their stories with us. We're really working hard on the Hispanic culture and gathering their stories and how they perceive New Braunfels and what growing up here was like. So we're thankful to KGNB that they've hosted this since the 1970s, and, just really thanks. It's a great program.
The Sophienburg 90th Anniversary Celebration, October 8th, 1 to 4 p.m. at the Sophienburg. Thank you to both Keva Boardman and Jennifer Singleterry from the Sophienburg.